Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the OK Grognard Show. It is Wednesday, June 17th, 2020, 9:30 a.m. Central in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Campaign discussion. We're going to spend some more time on Laidlaw. I wanted to also show off this lovely background that I'm using. I picked up a print from David Pancake, and I am using that same print background as the am I doing this right? Maybe I'm not. Oh, I see. Okay. I'm trying to mess with the color a little bit right now just to see. I want to be on that there. Get the properties of that. That's the one. Let's see how this looks if I play with this at all. Font resolution, configure video, I think was the way to go. Yeah. There was a way of bringing myself into this, and I'm not sure if there's a way to do it now. There we go. Give myself a little more color without screwing up the background too much. Is that a little better? Maybe. Maybe. Can't be too bad. What about the white balance? We bring that down. Can we? I don't think we can. That's on auto. Backlight compensation. I don't know. Well, let's try it like that and see. There we go. Yep. Welcome, Hobbs. How's that sound? Are you saying that it's off? It's too low? It's not good enough? Is that a problem? Oh, it's better. Okay. So you're just saying I was speaking too quietly, huh? Well, I think I was talking into my keyboard instead of talking into my mic. Oh, you're driving. Okay. Let me bring my mic down a little bit. Sometimes I wear it too high on the side of my face. I try to avoid having it right next to my breather, so I don't sound too much like Darth Vader when I'm just sitting around. Anyway, so you can hear me, but you're not watching me, so don't see my nifty new background and see that I'm using a really cool green screen effect now. So you're missing all the fun, and that's okay. This should be an enjoyable show, regardless of whether you can see my smiling face. In fact, we'll switch back over to the other screen. Yeah, last Thursday I picked up a green screen, and I've been fooling around with it ever since. But where are we at? Oh yeah, there we are. So we'll switch over to this here. Have a look at the old maparoo. We've got the village of Laidlaw map all numbered. This is just a temporary one. This is not the permanent one that you would see, say, displayed inside an offering. Anything you would sell. This is just something you throw together in numbers so that you have a working map, temporary map for putting it together. Anyway, I've got this list of potential businesses. We kind of brainstormed this partially the week before, but mostly last week. Or is that vice versa? And we've got 50 locations. Now we know that there's going to be a ferryman. That's a definite. And we know that that ferryman's going to be at number 4. So that's a definite. We know that number 1 is the East Gate. We know that number 2 is the West Gate. Number 3, we're just going to call it the main keep for now. There's a lot of work that goes into that. Number 4 is the ferryman. Number 5, we talked about making that the tannery. It puts it outside of town, puts it near a water source. We're going to make it that for now. Number 6 is an inn and tavern and stable. Question is, how much of that? And do we need a name? So we need a name for an inn and a tavern and a stable. Good morning, Ink Dweller. What do you guys in the chat think about the Silvercrest is that tavern that's number 7. But we need a name for this inn that's on the other side of town, outside the West Gate. 07, we'll call that Silvercrest Inn. No? You guys getting all shy on me now? Don't want to come up with a name? Well, Ink Dweller and Hobbs are the two people we have in the chat currently. What if we Hobdweller? Hoddweller? Hobdweller. Hobbler. Let's call it the Hobbler Inn. The Hobbler Silvercrest Tavern, that should be. We'll just call it Hobbler Inn. There we go. All right, you two will know. You two will know that Ink Dweller and Hobbs were the inspiration. I wrote Bobbler. I meant Hobbler. There we go. You two will know that the inspiration for that location came during the June 17th recording of the OK Grognard show when we were working on Laidlaw. And that'll be our little Easter egg. Our little essential business Easter egg. Because the Hobbler Inn is definitely... I like Hobbler Inn. I don't want the article in front of the Hobbler Inn. Because it has one of those, you know, double entendre names like Dewdrop Inn and Too Deep In. Classic one to put next to a lake, by the way, Too Deep In. I don't know if you're familiar with those sort of names that are inevitably either an insult to a tavern owner's wife or a sexual innuendo with some sort of misogynist overtones, or simply a drunk joke, because those are always good too, right? Just saying we're all drunk here. That's what 3 rounds in. Classic, right? And then, of course, there are names for places that are meant to throw other people off the scent, but those, I think, were more. Where were you tonight? Oh, I was still at the office. Or I was still at the workplace. So you'd name your tavern the workplace, and then somebody could prevaricate with their spouse and claim they were still at the workplace for the last 3 hours, even though they smell like a brewery or a distillery when they get home. We won't dive too deep into that. So we got a tanner. I guess we should also call that the furrier, because we're giving out some double jobs here to make sure that we cover all our bases. Number 8. All right, see this location? Pretty big location. Little too big to be just any old thing. Could be another inn. We don't have that many. I mean, if we've only got this place over at 6, which I'm assuming 6A is going to be on the Hobbler Inn. 6A is going to be where the owner proprietor lives. 6B is going to be probably one long room with a bunch of bunk beds and another private room with maybe 2 beds in it. So we'll have that subdivided into a few different things. But guests over in 6B, of course 6C is stable, so their horses staying there. But 6A reserved for the people that actually run the place. They have their own home there, right? That would make sense. Makes it nice and tidy. But that means that 6B has to house enough people for any sort of travelers and whatnot, and that doesn't seem like enough. So I think we can put another inn at 08. It's good. It's right on the main thoroughfare. It's near a gate. It's across from a tavern. It can be more of a boarding house. No inn, no food. Since 07 exists right next to it, since the Silvercrest Tavern is right across the way, there's no reason that 08 can't be just simply a bunch of rooms with no actual eating or drinking establishment attached to it. But we'll need a name. We'll need a name for 08. We will say, in parentheses, rooms only. Let's make sure we establish that. It's definitely going to be an inn. I guess we could call it a boarding house, but I think that would be a misnomer. I think we'd be giving it a different sense, a different feel than what we want. What we want is more of a not a cut rate inn. So it's not going to be, I don't think a village like this can afford to have like an expensive inn. I think, you could have a room or two that are a little cut above in an existing inn, but I don't think an entire building, an entire inn could sustain that sort of Pentecot's boarding. Pentacon. Where are we getting Pentacot from? Is that a name I should know, or is that just a series of syllables you've thrown together that sound good to you? Because it does sound good. Like I said, boarding, I think we're gonna. Well, boarding might be the wrong word because that almost speaks to locals who would have rooms. Still, that's not necessarily untrue. There could be boarders that are lumbermen, right? We've got these lumber camps across the river to the south that most of the lumberjacks stay there. The woodcutters actually stay there most of the year round. They do furlough into town. They would need something like a boarding in. Boarding in. Pendicots, huh? Interesting. Pendicots. What if it's I like the suffix on that. Cots kind of, says we have places to lay your head, right? Pendicots. I'm going to put a question mark in front of that. I think there's perhaps a prefix in front of cots that might work better than pendicots, just on a sort of a name it for what it is kind of a thing. Bordicots in, pendicots boarding. I like that though. I do like that. 09. All right, behind the inn, there's a nice little place. This, mind you, is between the gate and on the way to the main keep. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buildings that occupy that stretch, which you've got to figure has made it up. It's the owner's name, okay, for Pendicots. Can't argue with that. We'll just add a few more numbers here just to put them down. So that little stretch that goes toward the main keep has a certain cachet, right? It's kind of nice to be on that drag between the gate and the most powerful family in town, right? Does that give anybody any additional cachet to be along there? Does that location anywhere along there create a ideal place to be for a particular type of business? I think it's possible to say that here, where are we? Tavern, brewer, winemaker. So we got it. We might have room for another tavern. I'm going to... Did I already get rid of Tannery? I guess I did. Nope, Tanner Furrier. There it is. Let's just get that off of there since we already have one. Looking down these things, silversmith, goldsmith. I think we can put a silversmith or a goldsmith in one of these places because they would be able to. I don't think somebody with a bit of wealth wants to be next to the well, right next to the well where everybody's going to be coming and going. I think that's a good place. 19 might be a good place with a fortune teller. Or maybe 17 is. Maybe 17 is because they can sit there and overhear gossip. But I think 18 is a good place for the silversmith slash goldsmith. So we're going to throw that in there. Then we're going to go down here. Storyteller? No. It's going to be a wandering person. Herbalist slash fortune teller. We had stacked those jobs. We're going to have the same person wear both of those hats. And I like the idea of putting them in 17 because I like the idea of them being close enough to overhear gossip that's going on at the well. If you're going to be telling people's fortunes, right? It's nice to have the inside scoop on some stuff. 11's a little larger than some of the surroundings. 10, 10's got this backyard with gardens. Some of that. You know what? Let's put the winemaker in there. Winemaker or brewer? What did we decide? I think we can put a brewer in 10. I think if we have a winemaker, we're going to put it somewhere else. We've already got some taverns covered. Winemaker could be near. Maybe there's a winery over in 23. I like that. Let's put that over there. So 10 doesn't need to be a brewer. Brewer doesn't have to be there. Brewer could be an 11. Let's move brewer into 11. Let's put somebody else who can use those fields. Well, now, you know what? There are certain things beyond the actual grains that you need. So we'll leave brewer in 10. What about 11? 11's a good sized place. 11's got some room. It's on that stretch toward where the Fancy Pants family lives. We still have 9, which is smaller but nice. Right? Looking down what we have here. Tailor. Yeah, you know what? Let's put a tailor in one of those. And if we put, you know what? Tailor and cloth maker, let's team them up. Let's put that in 11. Tailor slash cloth maker. And then we're taking a couple of hats off. And what if we make 09 a cobbler? Right? That way we're kind of got the clothing district right here with 9 and 11. We could throw something in 12 too. Something similar, maybe maybe a weaver back in 12. So it's all tight, close together there. Would make a certain amount of sense. And then we've got 13, this little round hut back here. That's a weirdo one, huh? Um, you know, we could put a little side business, little bunch of side businesses back here that are all kind of uh, they could be necessary places, but not. What if let's see, woodcutters, leather worker. We need a leather worker somewhere that we don't have. And we already get cobbler. There we go. Cobbler we put in at number 9. Maybe that wasn't a great idea. Maybe we can put a cobbler nearer to a leather worker. Maybe a leather worker at 15 and move the cobbler over to 16. I think that's not a bad plan. Cobbler doesn't have to be right on the main road. But that reopens 9. So we've got to think about what else fits in with that area. We've already got weavers. Now some of these can be just residences. They don't have to be places of business. 12 we got as a weaver, so we've got 13, 14 leather worker, and 15, 16 is the cobbler. 15 can actually be a little crops person of some sort. So let's take leather worker and move it into 14. It gives them a little more space. Keeps them near the cobbler and near the clothier, which would be 2 of the main people that they'd want to be dealing with. Weaponsmith, armorer, blacksmith, none of that fits over there. Let's see. Looking down the list, I got a candle. I'm going to need a candle maker somewhere. He doesn't need any crop space, though. You could put a bakery down the end there. But I feel like a bakery, somebody who's churning out bread, is going to need maybe a larger? Nah, maybe not. Maybe not. That's a tough one. I'm thinking a bakery needs a bigger. I like the idea of putting a bakery in at number 48. I just like that location for them. It gets them close to 36, which I think we've decided just on its looks. It's got a bell tower. It's got what's behind it, not a field, right? It's not a crop field. It looks like it was set up, and this is a Dyson Logos map. Let's not forget that. It looks like that was set up as a little cemetery. And that would make sense that 36 would be a temple then. It's got a bell tower. It's got a cemetery attached. It's a largest, second only to the main keep. So 36 is a temple of some sort. We haven't decided what religion. And obviously I've got my own creation myth. Vaxilon. No, Valexion. Am I saying it right now? Valexion? You have not posted in here before. So while I'm thinking of it, I've got my list for the drawing for the week, and I need to put people in that are in. So I will add both you and Hobbs, who I didn't add just yet. Valexion, do I know you elsewise? If you said a first name, would I know who you are? Well, you're typing in a first name for me. I will read what you wrote. Don't think you know me. Well, I appreciate you coming by any which way. Don't forget to click follow. And then following and then just speaking up in the chat automatically enters you to the weekly giveaway. I think what we're going to do is what we did last week for this week, which is next Monday we'll announce a random person who chimed in on the chat who is also a follower during the between and inclusive of Sunday through Saturday from this week, and that person will win a free entry into Virtual Gamehole Con next November. Now, maybe you get into virtual games, maybe you don't play virtual games, but I'll tell you what, I spent more time at GaryCon just in mapping seminars and other sorts of seminars. You know, make yourself a better DM seminars, the history of gaming of the 1980s seminars, all sorts of cool little things. Lost Nomad, I already have Lost Nomad in. I didn't put Ink Dweller in yet for this week. In any event, the point being, winning yourself a free badge for going to Virtual Gamehole Con is not a bad thing at all. You'll enjoy that. So you're in as a potential winner for that. And the other nice thing about that is you're not going to get stuck with, because remember, if it's a physical prize, if it's in the main 48 states, I just ship it out. But if it's outside of the 48 states, then it gets a little expensive for shipping, so I have to ask whoever is winning it to chip in on the shipping depending on where it goes. So, you know, if it's halfway around the world, so a set of dice, for instance, could cost $20-$30 to ship halfway around the world, and at that point, is it really worth? I mean, maybe it is. They're dice that I took them down to the stone, down by the fountain by the Riviera here in Lake Geneva, the Gary Gygax Memorial Stone that's here, and put them on there and took a little picture, which is nice. So they're blessed by Gary, and they come from Lake Geneva, and they're dice that are special in that way. But that doesn't mean that you necessarily want to pay $30 to have them shipped halfway around the world. They're still just a set of dice. Here's a pretty cool thing. That's a Lake Geneva Games orange and black six-sider, right? That, of course, is on the side with the 6. There's the side with the 1. I threw all these dice on there and took a picture of them on the stone, too. So I've got a handful of Lake Geneva Games six-siders. 5543. So I rolled a 14. That's my strength. I don't feel that strong today. Getting old. It's my own fault. Um, but listen, I didn't mean to sidestep what you wrote here. A little crop's work of some sort. A pair of druids cast blood magic on their crops in hope of improving them. Unfortunately, they made a substitute of one of the ingredients, grabbed the wrong ritual recipe, and now the crops are sentient. The crop's only desire is to be eaten there, and they force feed themselves to the druids till they explode before turning their potato eyes and corn ears to the party. That's a great adventure seed. All I'm doing in this case here, well, Skull and Pants, how you doing? All I'm doing in this case here is plugging in the different locations for a town um, without a plan to set up specific adventures. But I love that adventure seed. Sentient plants that just want to be. It's their purpose, right? Is to become food, and they don't feel fulfilled until they force feed themselves on someone. Until they are eaten, they feel like their sentient life is meaningless. So of course they force feed themselves. They've accidentally killed the druids. There's enough of them force fed themselves into the druids that they choked to death or exploded, as you say. And now there's enough of them left. They can no longer. What good is it trying to squeeze yourself into the dead body of a druid? You need to get into a living being. That's how your purpose is fulfilled. So potatoes and turnips and corn and the rest of the veggies from the druid garden are now making their way. Do they grow legs and arms and little? They become little anthropomorphized vegetables and fruits and stuff. Is that the idea that they can actually move around and do that sort of thing, or are they just kind of flopping around as one would? I guess if they have roots and stuff, those can become legs. So you pull a carrot up out of the ground, it's going to have some tendrils that it can use as appendages, right? Skull and Pants says, my wife used the dice we won to play D&D. Thank you, Mike. That's nice. To play D&D last week. Did you guys play at home or did you play on a virtual thing? Was it the family playing? That's a nice thing, right? Start to get some games going. I know it's nice when you're living with a family, you've got a built-in game group, right? Game Masters Vault, thanks for stopping in too. She rolled a natural 20 with her 20-sider at one point. That's classic. That's definitely a sign that they were blessed, right? That just proves it. So that's good. Valexion says about the sentient vegetables, their legs and arms are roots, but they crawl. They aren't bipedal. Okay. So they could be like how a seal moves along the ground using its flippers to drag it along or to flop it forward bit by bit, undulating their body at the same time that the roots are out there flopping it forward. That sounds like that'd work. Family, your Skull and Pants. Mike says the family play D&D. That's where the wife rolled a 20, and your son was running it, huh? Has he DM'd a lot? I know he's been playing for quite a while. Has he also DM'd quite a bit? Is this the first time he's DM'd for the family? Has he done this a few times? Are we talking starter set? Are we talking homebrew stuff now he's getting into, or what's the dealio with his? Everybody should know Skull and Pants' son won what do you call it? Is it? It's like a display contest. So imagine a bunch of students each set up a booth on a subject That's something they wish to present. So it's like presentation displays. Um, it's kind of like a science fair, but not strictly narrowly into science, I guess. Or perhaps it is science, and this is more of the psychology of gaming. But his son set up this display on Gary Gygax in Lake Geneva, and they came up to the store here in Lake Geneva and talked to me, got some, picked my brain about some of the history of gaming here in this town, um, and some of the early gamers that were around, especially Gary, and did a lot of internet research and more, and had this beautiful display set up, and won locally and advanced and went to Milwaukee with the booth and everything. And if he had won there, would have continued on to a national. So they went to regionals with this, which was so wonderful. And I used to have a picture of that. Oh, I bet it's on the website. If you go to the front page of Facebook's Lake Geneva Games page and scroll down, um, probably to half a year ago or so. Was it longer even at this point? Maybe it was last summer. But if you scroll down a ways, you'll find a picture of Skull and Pants Mike's son and his display, his Gygax and gaming display, and it really is neat. Valixion asks, have you ever had a player try to use Coffee Lock, and if so, how did you deal with it? Coffee Lock. I don't know. I don't think I know what Coffee Lock is. Game Master's Vault. Hola, nerds. I didn't even see that right away. That's funny. Reach level 2 Warlock and level 2 Sorcerer. Use flexible casting on turn Warlock spell slots and sorcery points. Use flexible casting to turn sorcery points into spell slots. Take a short rest and refresh Warlock spell slots. Return to step 2 without taking a long rest. Okay, well, that's all kind of beyond my usual kin because I run first edition D&D mostly. I've run a little bit of 5th edition. Let's see, I ran the starter set for 3 months when it first came out in 2014. I ran another campaign that was 1st to 5th level, and I ran for a little while some 5th level characters. I think they gained a couple of levels. That only went for about 6 months. Um, groups, sometimes it's tough to keep them together because of work schedules and the like. Anyway, that's the extent of the 5th level stuff I've run. And all of that stuff was run in 2014, 2015, 2016. So a lot of what you're putting out there in this suggestion is stuff that would have been probably not possible under the rules at that time, at least as far as I recall, or at least wasn't a trick that anybody had put together at that point. So I don't know how to speak to that. If that's Coffee Lock, it's a little more complex than would have been used at a table where I was running 5th edition. And I'm guessing from the key words that are in that passage that you typed that you're talking 5th edition there. Um, I'm just a unfrozen caveman gamer. Your technology. Ooh, that's some updates from my Creative Cloud. Your technology and game mechanics frighten me. So I don't know what to say. It's a little more involved than I would normally get into. Anywho, we're at the 45-minute mark. We usually try to keep it at a half hour or less, so we've kind of run a little bit long. I'm going to go ahead and pop this over to the outro screens as we say thank you very much to everybody. Yeah, 5e, basically, let sorcerers refill their spells with a series of short rest instead of long rest. Interesting. So, yeah, kind of like playing Magic and finding a way to produce infinite mana, right? Just keep going and never have to actually take a long rest. I want to say thanks to everybody, though, who came into the stream chat today. Thanks for popping in. Thanks for speaking up while you were here. I've got you all in for the drawing for next week. I want to say also to anybody who was lurking, thank you too. But don't forget, if you're lurking and you're following, you might as well say hello in the chat because that gets you automatically entered into the drawing. Also, let's not forget that next 2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks, on a Monday, the 29th of June, Harryhausen Day. Looking forward to that. If you're not familiar with Ray Harryhausen, the undisputed king of stop motion animation, if you're familiar with Clash of the Titans or any of the Sinbad films, Jason and the Argonauts, Mysterious Island, if you're not familiar, look up Ray Harryhausen on IMDb. Check out some of his films and know that he would have been 100 years old this June 29th. He unfortunately passed May 7th, 2013 at 92. And just a filmmaking god that we're going to be giving the nod to that Monday. On the schedule, tomorrow, Thursday, crafting and painting. We've got building virtual tabletop games on Friday, a DM cartoon review of the 4th episode of the Conan animated series, Conan the Adventurer. Sunday, rules retrospective. I think we'll probably be wrapping up the David M. Prada Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Initiative and Combat Rules version 2.2 that was written in 2006 as a guide to using Advanced Dungeons & Dragons combat and initiative rules as written. Pretty neat. Weekly news and a giveaway on Monday. We're into cartography and world building on Tuesday, and then, of course, Wednesday, back round the circle for more campaign discussion, mostly happening in my wonderful Grimwald campaign, which has been around since 1974 when the game was invented. So come join us. We'll talk about stuff like that. And I also want to thank anybody who's catching up with us on YouTube. Also, be sure to subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a little comment. Give us some feedback. It's always good to get that sort of thing. I appreciate you all for being here. I appreciate anybody who catches up with this in recorded form. Thank you very much. And hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. from beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Bye-bye.